Was just about to turn in for the night when I saw this article pop up on USNI, and I could not let it go. This article is a case study in psychological operations. The Navy has been pushing this bunk story for the last year, and it's coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Fitzgerald, about this issue with poor training and lack of seamanship and being tired and all of this nonsense. When we've shot so many holes in the story, especially with the Fitzgerald, they may be able to make some kind of an argument with that with the McCain. But let me show you, and if you've actually been to my Patreon channel and taking the training, you'll be able to see this clearly. Now let's go ahead and start here. A comprehensive test of seamanship skills of 164 junior surface warfare officers found an alarming, subjective, lack of basic navigation and ship handling knowledge, according to a message sent from the head of the Navy Surface Forces and obtained by USNI News. Okay, June 4th message. Leaders throughout the service outlined the results of a battery of competency checks on junior officers who were qualified to stand officer of the deck watch at 7 fleet concentration areas. Okay, 35-minute low to moderate traffic navigation scenario graded by former warship commanders. Okay, here's their sobering results. Now look how they twist this. The results were sobering. Once again, they have made 2 subjective statements before even telling you what happened. Of the 164 officers assessed, only 27 aced it. Completed no concerns, of course. 108 completed some concerns, no actual breakdown, and 29 had significant concerns. In short, this confirms we have work to do. In short, this confirms that 87% of the people who took the test passed it. And 164 officers? There are 52,000 officers serving in the United States Navy. Now, they're not all junior officers, of course, but 164 isn't a big enough representative sample to make any kind of an assessment about the training levels in the Navy. Ridiculous, ridiculous statement. And this 108 completed some concerns, that includes everybody who had one concern and people who had dozens. It lumps them all into the same category. They might have missed one question and shown that nearly 90% of the junior officers knew what the hell they were doing. Now, if you think that's bad, I found this link. Defense News first reported the results of the memo Tuesday. So they release a memo, and then they do an article on a memo that they released less than 24 hours before, trying to reaffirm and rehash this story to make it seem like it's a bigger deal than it is. All right, so here's this thing 23 hours ago on Defense News. Now, listen to this. A 3-month internal review conducted by senior U.S. service fleet leaders found some or significant concerns with the ship handling skills of nearly 85% of its junior officers. Or they could say 85% of their junior officers either aced it or got a passing grade, but that's not how they choose to color it. And that many struggled, depersonalized, to react decisively to extricate their ship from danger when there was an immediate risk of collision. It's such an amazing thing to see. A continual harping on this story of how bad our training is, how bad our sailors are. Is anybody even going to come out? Of course, they don't ever say that because they talk about the training, the depersonalization of it. And they talk about all these shortfalls. Officers struggled with operating radars and associated tools at hand. Which tools? An issue that emerged in the wake of the Fitzgerald accident. That's absolutely incorrect. Completely incorrect, because we've already heard now that the AIS was in use when they said it wasn't in use, and the radar wouldn't have been something you would have been using anyway. If I remember the story correctly, they had a visual on the ship that ended up allegedly colliding with them when it was over a mile away. And of course, down here, most officers were able to keep clear of close encounters with other ships. So there's a positive piece of information, but of course they have to find something negative to say. But those that found themselves in extremis, which could be, when it says most officers, it could have been, what, 1, 2 didn't, were often, not always, were often ill-equipped to take immediate action to avoid collisions. These are just subjective terms and terminology thrown in here with a glaring lack of actual fact to make you believe something that isn't true. Once again, trying to slime our sailors, trying to slime our servicemen in order to cover their lie. In his message to the fleet, Brown said the OOD competency reviews should be a call to action for the service community to get after its shortcomings. Oh, brother. Based on testing 162 of how many thousands and thousands and thousands? If they had tested 1,600, that might be a representative slice of junior officers, perhaps. It would depend on what those junior officers were doing. In the case of the Fitzgerald, both the bridge and Combat Information Center showed a lack of basic understanding of the radar they were using and failed to use the tools at hand effectively. No, not true. What was the CIC supposed to do when they saw this? They said they saw it pop up on the AIS that allegedly wasn't being used at the last minute, and then put a camera on it and watched it slam into the side of them, allegedly. And they also said in the report, the junior officer of the deck on the bridge, visual sighting on the Fitzgerald when it was over a mile away. The radar had nothing to do with this. And besides, it also says that the officer of the deck, that Sarah Kopic, actually did get a radar track on that vessel. But there was confusion as to what its actual course was, and we know why, because it was not broadcasting like a normal vessel would. It was broadcasting a Class B signal, which they wouldn't have been able to see or hear at the distances they said they should have been able to. It's frustrating as hell to see our young sailors and soldiers and airmen and Marines, in this case just sailors, but mark my words, something like this is going to happen and they're going to take a page out of this playbook somewhere else. Notice we haven't heard a word about that C-130 or anything that was involved there, but another argument for another day. The study also found that the practical application of the maritime rules of the road was a deficiency in the junior officer's quiz. Get this, so it was a deficiency, right? While 91% passed the written test, more than half of the officers assessed struggled to correctly apply rules of the road during encounters in the scenario. So 91% passed. It says struggled to. They didn't say they didn't correctly apply the rules of the road. It said they struggled to. There's a lot of things that they teach you in the military that unless you're using them all the time, you're going to struggle to know and struggle to remember. And like I said, this struggle to, what did they hesitate for 5 seconds? What's their definition of struggling? Is that a technical term? Is there a military definition of the term struggling? If you read through this, you will see point after point after point how they are trying to use the syntax to run a psychological operation to make you believe something that is not true, because the facts they throw out here actually argue with it. if you read it for content and outline it. But like I said, if you really want to be a part of understanding this, please join us at the Florida Maquis. We have training available as low as $5, and we would love to have you. Tomorrow is Roundtable Access Division. That's the $20 level. We have 4 people there. We actually have Maquis Masters as well, and everywhere in between. So please, if you're interested in understanding psychological operations and how it's used, do not hesitate. It will definitely be worth your while. We do one video. Mondays, we put out a video for the $5 level. Tuesdays, we put out a video for the $10 level. Now, the $10 has access to the 10 and the 5. On Wednesdays, we do the special access need to know $15 level. Those people have access to the Monday and Tuesday videos as well. Tomorrow, we'll do the Roundtable Division. Not only will they have access to that video, but the previous 3, and then the Maquis Masters on Friday have access to everything. And then on the weekends, we do videos, but it's not about training. It's about things we probably shouldn't talk about on YouTube. So for the Maquis Master, you're going to have access to 30 different videos at the $50 level. And at the $5 level, you'll have at least 5 to 9, if I do 1 each weekend day. And then just add 4 videos each level up. So the value that you're getting is amazing for what you can take those tools into your life and use them for. Tomorrow at the Roundtable, we're going to be talking about business environment psychological operations and how you can use these techniques to help your situation at work. So we will leave it there, but the Navy is still at it. They are still at trying to destroy the reputations of our sailors. And we are not going to let that fly here. Have a great night. Like, share, subscribe.